January 30, 1933, Adolf Hitler is named the leader, or Führer, Chancellor of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party. This was to be a major turning point for Germany, for the world. Nazi Germany was up and running. For Europe's Jews, the worst was yet to come. Within 12 years, 12 million men, women, and children, including 6 million Jews, would be murdered in cold blood by Hitler and his accomplices in the Nazi regime. For the next 5 years, the Jews became the primary target of Nazi persecution. In May of 1933, just a few months after becoming chancellor, the books of Jewish authors were burned in a ceremony at Berlin's Opera House. The goal was to erase the rich Jewish culture and history.
Meine Kommilitonen, deutsche Männer und Frauen, das Zeitalter eines überspitzten jüdischen Intellektualismus ist nun zu Ende. Der Durchbruch der deutschen Revolution hat auf dem deutschen Weg wieder die Gasse freigemacht.
Within 2 years, the Nuremberg laws were passed, decreeing that only Aryans could be full citizens of Germany. German businesses no longer served Jews, and it became illegal for Aryans and Jews to wed. As oppressive as life was, this harassment was mostly non-violent, until the night of November 9, 1938. Known forever as Kristallnacht, spawning the name, the Night of Broken Glass. It started in the late hours and continued into the next day. Hundreds of synagogues across Germany were set on fire or vandalized by Nazi mobs. Thousands of Jewish homes, schools, businesses, hospitals, and cemeteries were damaged or destroyed. As the violence raged, buildings burned to the ground. At least 96 Jews were killed, with hundreds more injured. Nazi officials directed German police and firefighters to save Aryan-owned properties and ignore Jewish-owned buildings. In the aftermath, streets were littered with broken glass from the vandalized buildings. Kristallnacht. According to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, the Nazis placed the blame for the damage on the shoulders of their own German Jewish community. A fine, the equivalent of $400 million, was imposed, and more than 30,000 Jewish men, considered enemies of the Nazi state, were arrested and sent to concentration camps. By the end of the war in 1945, the memory of the Jews of Europe had nearly been erased, and the destruction that occurred on Kristallnacht almost forgotten. Today, artist Martin Levin has taken on the daunting task of recreating the European synagogues destroyed on Kristallnacht. Bringing them back to life as beautifully detailed models has become Martin's personal mission, a true mitzvah, the goal of which is to remember those who died and the rich life they led, to ensure that they shall never be forgotten. Each and every brick, stone, and stained glass window is individually designed, carved, and carefully hand-painted, with such detail that, in order to paint the finest lines, he'll use a brush with just 3 bristles. Here are just a few samples of his meticulous works. The Glockengasse Synagogue in Cologne, Germany was completed in 1861 and served as the hub for Cologne's vibrant Jewish community. 77 years later, on Kristallnacht, it was destroyed. Today, the site is home to the Cologne Opera. Jews had lived in Poppelsdorf since 1624, but it wasn't until 1852 that the community had grown large enough to build their first synagogue. And in 1902, they erected this new and larger synagogue in the Moorish and neoclassical style. Today, all that remains is a memorial rock on an empty lot where it once stood. On Kristallnacht, in the town of Bleicherode, only 29 Jewish families remained. They watched as their synagogue was destroyed, their cemetery, established in 1728, desecrated, and their businesses vandalized. Today, no Jews remain in the city. The city of Neustadt had a Jewish presence since the 1300s. Built in 1867, this synagogue was the center of Jewish life, until Kristallnacht, when it was terribly vandalized, then doused in gasoline and set aflame. Soon after, a float depicting the burning synagogue was paraded in the town with actors mockingly depicting Moses and the Jews. Landau had been home to the Jews since the late 1200s. They lived in almost constant persecution over the following centuries. In 1884, this beautiful synagogue was built to serve its growing community. On Kristallnacht, an SS gang wielding axes burned down the synagogue and destroyed Jewish homes. Jewish men were sent to Dachau, while Jewish women and children were sent to Mannheim. Today, there are no Jews living in Landau. Martin Levin's Kristallnacht series and other miniature buildings have been displayed at prominent museums, art galleries, and festivals throughout the United States. To learn more, visit whyilovejewish.org.